Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Party Pace podcast. It's transcontinental. I'm Russ, one of your hosts, currently based in Girona, Spain. I'm joined by my co-host, Nolan, the Bike Sauce. And today, we're going to talk about Eurobike and where all the bikes went. slightly facetious title, little couple spicy takes. But before we get into the spiciness of it, let's do a little bit of catch up. What have you been up to, Nolan?
Yeah. Been a couple of weeks, right? Or did we skip? We might have skipped 3 weeks there. Last podcast we had Amanda on, right?
Mm-hmm.
From Mammoth Tough, and since then I've officially registered for the race and have started getting the lodging set up. So it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Which means I have to actually start training. So that's exciting. This is kind of like a bucket list ride for me that I've been wanting to do for the past couple of years. So that's been on my mind. I don't know, video wise, just kind of plugging along as usual. And one interesting thing in the pipeline now, which is a little bit of a study on compliance in steel frames. So for a little bit of backstory, I recently built up the new house, right? The steel mountain bike frame, super supple, like probably the smoothest riding hardtail I've ever ridden. And I was contrasting that with the the Kona Hanzo, which is like a mass produced, slightly overbuilt hardtail frame in roughly the same size. So the idea was I took a bunch of data on the Kona, a few weeks back, and then took all the parts from the Kona, put it onto the new house frame. Just the only thing that changed was the frame. And then I went out and took the exact same data. And so sifting through that data now, but there's a couple of interesting things that cropped up. So I'm trying to put that video together in such a way that the average person will be interested in watching. So
how many little data collector things did you have on the bike?
Well, so that's the thing. They're expensive. So I only have one.
You only had one?
Right. Yeah, I only have one. So I put it on the rear axle, basically right by the rear axle, and then right by the bottom bracket, but then did numerous runs on the same trail.
Yeah.
Which was kind of tiring. But the key thing that popped up is that vertical compliance in a frame. I mean, that I'm careful not to call it conclusive evidence, but there's really no such thing as vertical compliance in a frame. And it feels like often what we're feeling in a so-called supple frame is actually more linked to lateral flex, which is what the data showed. So trying to find a way to put that in a video without the armchair engineers descending on me. But I'll just show.
We've been lied to all this time. It's actually lateral compliance and vertical stiffness.
Yeah, right. If you think about it, the rear triangle is a triangle, right? It's not. You can't really flex up and down, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's what's been on my mind lately.
Cool.
How about you?
When's that video gonna come out?
Well, it's supposed to come out this Sunday. I'm not quite sure if that's going to happen, either this Sunday or next Sunday.
Cool. That sounds exciting. That's gonna be a spicy video for sure.
Yeah, the comments will be a disaster probably, but
brace yourself. Just have your bottle of whiskey ready.
Yeah.
And one shot for every armchair engineer.
How about you? What's new?
Went to Eurobike, testing a bunch of bikes. I've started a new kind of video series, kind of leaping off of where Budget Mullet ended. I'm calling it Peak Mechanical. Because I think if you look at, where we are at with bikes, if they had, similar ages, like, Mankind, the Steel Age, Bronze Age, or whatever, we passed the mechanical age. We're in the electronic and fluids age. So I'm trying to assemble some group sets, some peak mechanical group sets that perform really well, have a wide range, and don't have excessive speeds, but cable braking, cable shifting. Yeah. And I've been kind of collating all the things that should work, the internet says should work, and actually trying them out.
Yeah.
And some interesting results, actually, like this very first one that that I'm going to make a video on. It's didn't think it would work. Theoretically, it should work, but the first time I tried it didn't. But now it does apparently, and I think people will be stoked. So, yeah.
Those videos tend to do really well. It feels like just the hacky kind of. Wasn't expecting it to work, but kind of did.
Yeah, it's kind of, you get these comments. It's like, well, have you tried X? And I did it, and it's like, well, unless you have video proof, that's just internet hearsay. So I've been, just seeing what seeing the most plausible and interesting ones, and actually testing them.
Oh crap! Is it just me?
Oh, or do we lock up?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay. Yeah.
Thought I was gonna have to run the show for a second there.
Oh no. Yeah. So Peak Mechanical. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Nice. Okay, so then you're back from Eurobike. How long were you gone? Like close to a week or so?
Yeah. Eurobike, if you guys aren't aware, it's like the big bike prom in Europe for all the brands to show. We were there for about a week, and it's like massive. You were talking about going to the maid show. You could take one maid show and put probably 4 of them on one floor of one hall, and there's 4 halls with multiple floors. So it's just it's a magnitude of bikes and bike shaped objects and bike adjacent things that I've not ever seen before.
I know you haven't been to the Taipei show, have you?
No, I'm
okay, because that's supposed to be huge too, right?
Yeah.
Well, how would you compare Eurobike to like a Sea Otter in terms of size?
Definitely bigger than Sea Otter. I feel like you could fit multiple Sea Otters in Eurobike. Like Sea Otter is kind of spread horizontally.
Yeah.
Eurobike is just multiple buildings with things.
So what was your strategy? I mean, if you only have a few days there, like how did you strategize for getting through it?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like we didn't know what to expect. So I had planned 3 videos and shot the intros for those videos. And then as we actually saw what was there, had to reshuffle and reshoot the intros. Because I was thinking, okay, there's going to be a cool bikes video, kind of broad in general. There's going to be something on accessories. And then maybe I do like a human interest piece, asking people like a goofy question.
Mm-hmm.
I realized fairly quickly that this was not a place to ask goofy questions.
Oh, really? You got a lot of blank stares.
Well, culturally probably not appropriate, and they're probably wondering like who this random person is. Like I feel like Maid's a better show for that because I know personally a lot of the vendors.
Yeah.
But here, like I had to play a little bit more conservatively. Accessories came out about like how I figured, but the bikes, there are fewer. This is where we're going to start treading into dangerous waters here. There are fewer bikes than I had expected.
Interesting. I mean, there were bikes, but fewer of the type that you would have liked to see, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like it's making me question how to define what a bike is.
Oh no. I was watching your video on the small wheel bikes and small wheels and like mini velos, cargo bikes.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like it felt like you kind of had to shift away from like the cool bikes, and that was kind of the result of what was left.
Yeah, that was like the only other kind of cool class of bike that really caught my attention. I mean, there were some gravel bikes, but they were either like really super high racy end or just not my cup of tea. So
I saw the Richie, the Montebello made it into that one, so that's probably the one.
That was a palate cleanser, That's like that nice little piece of ginger that you eat between different types of sushis. After being inundated with so many like bike shaped objects, it's like this feels right.
But that's not to say that you don't appreciate a mini velo or a cargo, because you're kind of into cargo bikes.
Yeah, no, I'm super into cargo bikes and mini velos.
So
I guess
the video, I wasn't quite sure what to take away, because it started out like, oh, these are some cool mini velos, and then at the end, just kind of, well, by the way, here's like a stage bike, and it kind of it felt like it tapered off a little bit.
That was my attention span. Like after 4 days and like 6 miles of walking every
Yeah.
day with like a 20-pound backpack, I was like, make an end. It's physically brutal. That's probably the biggest difference between like a show like Made and Sea Otter.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't get to, you know, I was supposed to meet up with Jack. Didn't happen, but I did see him one day, but he was like super swamped and busy. And first day, he already looked like super tired. And I can see why. I mean, there's just so much, too much. So, and just, yeah, to cover it well and you know, be thorough. It's impossible for like a 1 or 2 person team. You know, you need like a whole staff.
I see.
So,
well, it sounds like, I mean, you got some good content. At least it was unique. It's not like the other Eurobike coverage that I was seeing, which is good. I think people appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking at everyone else's videos. It looks like we went to 2 different shows. Like I saw a comment pop up. It's like, I mean, Eurobike is all like bike packing stuff. It's like, buddy, you don't even know. I had to work to find the weird stuff.
Yeah, because the video is shot to where it feels like that's just like it's abundant there, but you're probably you probably curated those little clips.
Yeah, like there were, you know, you walk in, you know, Shimano's got like this huge presence, and Bulls Bikes has this huge presence, KTM, then smaller brands, and there was a innovation and startup section, which was like a row of like smaller booths, and there was like a handmade section. So that's where a lot of that content came in. It was completely like ignoring like the big, you know, marquee brands and just really rooting out the weird quirky stuff.
Sure. So. I mean, the big brands they're going to be covered by all the big channels anyways, right?
Yeah.
Did you make it through all 4 halls? Do you actually walk through the entire show?
Yes. Yeah, we walked through all 4 halls. There's like one floor we didn't go to. Like 11 and 12 were the big halls. That's kind of like the more finished consumer products. Then there was 8 and 9. I think 8 was the cargo bike, or 9 was, anyways. One of them was like cargo bikes. And one floor was just for suppliers and OEM things. So that's one that we didn't go to because I don't know, like they're there to do business. And I was already burnt out on bikes by the end of like the second day.
Oh man, yeah, that sounds exhausting. I think even recalling back to last Sea Otter, just after one full day of walking Sea Otter, I was pretty much spent. That's all I could do. Like I went home and basically just passed out. So.
Yeah, like a Sea Otter would probably be like half a haul.
Oh my god. Sheesh. Okay. Well, there was some cool stuff. If we're going to dig in a little deeper, like,
yeah, what do you see from people's coverage that you thought was interesting?
Well, no, I'm referring to your coverage, like your videos. The first mini velo in that video, I forgot the monopole.
Yeah, monopole. I think they're a Swiss brand.
That one seemed pretty cool. It was like a mini velo, but like super functional with like a front rack. But what was funny is that it seems like it's got the Pinion. A lot of bikes seem like they're going with the Pinion electronic shifting, which I don't know. I feel like your head kind of would explode looking at that bike.
Yeah, there was a lot of Pinion. I mean, they're German based. The show's based in Germany, so I feel like they worked with lots of builders and vendors to make sure Pinion was well represented.
I got it.
It was hard to not go to the booth and see a bike with a Pinion something in it.
But you're gonna get that one to review, right?
Yeah, they're supposed to ship it soon. I'll have it for a couple weeks and they'll pick it up. But yeah, it's got the Pinion Microshift.
Yeah.
I think it's integrated with the new TRP levers. That's how it works or something.
Oh.
We'll see. I think it's interesting because unlike some of the other cargo bikes I saw, it's something that you could actually pedal.
Oh, okay.
And some cargo bikes were, they call, they say it's a bike and you can pedal it, but you absolutely need some kind of motor or something to get it going.
Yeah.
So that the monopole seemed like, okay, this, you could actually ride this as like a traditional bike minus the wireless shifting stuff.
Okay.
Plus I've never tried a Pinion or even a roll off, so it'll be my first indoctrination to the gearboxes.
Yeah. And have you ridden a belt drive before?
Ages ago, we were in Iowa for a project, and someone lent me like their Spot gravel bike, and it had the belt drive.
Oh.
And I remember by the end of the gravel ride, it was squeaking pretty bad.
Oh, really?
I was like, did I break it? I thought these things were supposed to be like, perfectly quiet.
Yeah.
So,
well, I guess when you're commuting, but not when you're like showering.
Yeah. So we'll see. Like I always get asked like, why don't I do more IGH stuff or the Pinion in particular? And one is it's expensive, right? And you need a particular frame to do those things well. And it's most of the expense. But also, like a Pinion, like you need a special frame to ride that drivetrain, and a lot of the frames built around it so far haven't like really appealed to me. And
it's fair.
And
yeah.
I don't know. Have you seen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you seen Hardtail Party's video on Pinion?
I haven't.
No, he brought up some interesting points. Aside from like the weight and the price, like the physical shape of the Pinion dictates the geometry to some extent, since it's so long. Like you'll never get it on like a bike with a tucked rear end, so it's never going to be like a super sporty feeling bike. Makes sense on like a cargo bike or like a mountain bike or something, but
I mean, like I've seen a couple Pinions on full suspension mountain bikes in the past, and the ones with like the weird pulley that goes up higher on the C2, and people who ride them swear by them. They're like, "Oh, it's amazing! It's really cool." But it feels so complicated. It's like this whole other universe. It's like black box inside. So I probably, like, if I knew more about it or took the time to like study it, it would probably make more sense. But for me, it feels like a black box, and I wouldn't know how to work on it if it did break.
Yeah. There's no working on it. I think you just ship it back.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's my understanding. But they back it for, I don't know, I forget what the initial like warranty period is, but it's a long time, like 5 years or something.
Yeah, it must be. It's got to be pretty robust if people are riding it on like enduro type mountain bikes and not needing to service it for years. So
yeah.
Anyways, it'd be interesting to see your take. I think more interesting would be the first time you're gonna have like electronic shifting on the channel, right?
Not quite the first time, but it'll be like the first time in definitely a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, I guess is Archer, are you referring to Archer as the last time you had?
Archer was one, but I was on one of the SRAM Rival Explorer releases. Last time SRAM ever contacted me.
Okay.
I think I was like, well, it's neat, but it's a little laggy. And
and then
it was a little laggy. Yeah. Cool. So we'll see. Hopefully, I don't know. It looks like a cool bike. It's very cute.
You're gonna get the Montebello at some point too. I think I'm supposed to get one. Fergus said he'll send one probably beginning of August when he can get one built up. So yeah, that'll be. I'm looking forward to that one. I mean, that's not quite related to. I mean, it was at Eurobike, and we're both gonna test it. So that's why I brought it up. But I'm pretty excited to test that one.
Yeah. Yeah, the one that I showed is one that they're sending. So it's already decked out in kind of rando livery. I like that it's got, they found, I think it's rival, it might be, I don't know if it's 22 or not, but fully mechanical. So that'll be fun to ride.
Yeah.
I've been kind of itching for a road bike after moving here, just because the road riding is so good. So while not like a straight up racy road bike, it's a little bit more road oriented than what I have now.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, the Richie looked just so like charming in the corner.
Was that the one where they had the baguette sticking out of the water bottle cage or something?
Yeah, or it's the otter. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be fun to ride. I mean, yeah, the video, your video, that was maybe one of the only ones with like a 700C wheel. A lot of them were like 20-inch. The cargo bike that looked like a burly trailer just welded onto the back.
Yeah.
No, that actually seemed pretty interesting. I was surprised that you didn't seem that interested in that one.
No, I was just tired. I was trying to make a funny ending.
Oh.
It's frustrating because like the last day was we finally got a chance to go outside, because there's like the 4 halls and there's like the outside demo section, and there's some bikes that were only in the outside demo section. But by that time I wasn't like carrying any more cameras because my back was hurting, so I was just shooting B-roll with my phone. That's where those clips came in.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, next time if we go, I'll probably just focus on test rides rather than walking the whole show.
Oh, okay. That's a better strategy, or different strategy.
Yeah.
So what else? What stood out? Either bikes or components?
There was a lot of buzz about classified and their 1x16, which is lies. That's already, you shouldn't trust them just for that.
Well, okay, unpack that. Why is it lies?
Well, it's okay. So it's not 1x16, it's 1x12 with like their thingy. And it only becomes 1x16 because it uses whatever to do like sequential shifting or quantum shifting, which is really just sequential shifting.
Do they call it quantum shifting?
They do.
Oh, man.
I mean, they're just blowing so much smoke. Like, please buy it. You can see the 12 cogs, but we call it 1x16.
By the way, all gearing is quantum shifting, right? Because you're taking discrete steps. But anyways.
So there was a lot of buzz about that. Like whatever. It seems like a very expensive front derailleur replacement. Have you seen? Do you watch the channel Peak Torque?
Yeah, not regularly, but like sometimes a really interesting one will pop up, and I'll watch it.
He did a really long-term review on the classified, and parts of it, I don't know if you saw it, but parts of it seemed kind of like janky.
I do remember watching that. Yeah, that was pretty early, I think. Right when it came out, I think is when his videos came out.
Yeah, he had another one more recently, and it was, he was having problems with the through axle. Like it was kind of creaky. Sometimes it would drop signal and you couldn't shift, and you have to put in a regular axle so you could get to the lower gear range. The button broke, and he had to make his own kind of like janky button. But he was buffering the whole video with like, but when it works great. But everything works. Everything works great when it works great. But
right. I mean, yeah, I like his videos because they're generally just purely factual. Just like, here's what happened, here's why it happened, and here's what they should do to fix it. Really.
Right. Yeah. So classified was a thing. I was kind of like,
But what was interesting? What stood out to you as like interesting?
I mean, just like the mini cargo bikes as a general kind of trend was of interest. But other than that, like the show was, I don't know, it was a lot of the stuff there was just not up my alley, I guess. The vast majority of it was e-bikes, and not to sound like anti-e-bike, clearly we benefit from e-bikes, and I'd much prefer people ride those than cars, but it was like so much e-bike. And there were things that that were basically like light industrial machinery with pedals that but like at what point does it stop becoming, do we stop pretending it's a bike?
It's just a motorcycle with some like ornamental cranks on it.
Yeah, or like if you put pedals on a Tesla, does it make it like an e-bike? Because that's what it felt like for a lot of the show. It's like there's no way someone could humanly power this without like a massive motor. And I feel like we're using the word bike is doing a lot of heavy lifting in this situation.
So I guess your concept of peak mechanical is like, it's fitting if everything's being pushed towards e-bikes and electronics.
I was trying, like, after I think the first or second day of the show, I was just really depressed. I was like, is this going to be the future of bikes? Like, no one wants to shift or barely pedal. Why even get on the thing? But then, I tried to remind myself this is just a trade show. These are brands trying to reach out to distributors and dealers, and they're going to put their shiniest new objects out there. It's not necessarily a representation of the entire consumer market. Like, do you know anyone personally that rides a Pinion?
I had one student who came by to show it off in the lab on campus, but that's it.
So for all the Pinion that was there, like, I don't know anyone personally that has a Pinion bike. Although I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying.
Sure.
So there was, and like the e-bikes really split into what seemed like two large categories. One was kind of Me Too e-bikes, kind of general bike shaped bikes with a motor in them, to like really off the wall, light industrial machines that were called bikes. And the price points were really high. Like there were some bikes, like one of the bikes we showed was like the Lax Lax Cycles mini cargo bike, and the e-bike version was like 5,000 euro, like base. I was like, holy Jesus.
It's like a small K truck at that point.
So they were expensive. I don't know.
What's an example of like a light industrial machine with pedals? I'm
There
picturing
was
like
one
a tractor.
that was basically, it looked like something that you would ride around or drive around a warehouse with pallets on the back, so big and wide and flat. And in any other setting, you would have a steering wheel and like a brake and an accelerator. But to fit the show, it had I don't know, it had vestigial pedals just for the looks.
Like an e-forklift or something.
Yeah, basically. Lots of like cargo delivery things. The word mobility gets thrown around a lot to kind of capture those styles of vehicles. I think it'd be, e-bike seems like a bit of a misnomer. It should either be renamed to like Euro, or bike seems like a bit of a misnomer. It should be renamed to like Euro e-bike or Euro mobility show. Because I don't know. Maybe I'm just a retro grouch.
That's why shows like Made are so appealing, because it's like total opposite of that.
Yeah, and I do think like since we've been in Europe, there's been like a ton of small shows we didn't know about. Like we hear about from the States as Eurobike, but there's been Concours de Machines, bespoke. There's 2 of them. There's the one that happened in Manchester. There's one coming up in Dresden. There's one in Glasgow called Brazen Made.
Oh,
so there's like a ton of these small shows popping up, and I think that might be partly as a response to things like Eurobike.
Yeah, I only just learned about bespoke, and then I saw it on your Patreon post as well. So is that something you're going to try and go to?
Yeah, I think we'll do the Dresden one for sure. We came over and only had Eurobike in terms of budget. So we budgeted for Eurobike and Made. And then it was only after that we discovered all these other kind of more interesting things up our alley. So I think next year when we pick which shows to cover, we'll probably won't go to Eurobike. So I'm glad we went this year just to see the lay of the land.
Sure. Yeah. Now you know.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so then Made, we could talk about Made, because that's going to be, well, actually I haven't been, you've been. It seems like it'll be exciting. Like, like we said, higher density of cool stuff and less kind of just kind of fluffy stuff, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, I think you'll have a good time at Made. It's like all the fun bike nerd enthusiast brands are there.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, it feels a little bit intimidating, like kind of the way I felt before Sea Otter the first year, because it's all like the brands that you drool over when you're like shopping for your dream bike. They're basically all there in the same like warehouse.
Yeah. That's a cool thing about it. It's like there's less kind of I don't want to say crap, but there's less noise to to wade through. You could systematically go booth to booth to booth and make content and walk out feeling pretty good. The venue, when we were there last year, it was really hot and there was wildfire smoke. And the thing is basically a big hangar where they used to build ships. So if it's smoky outside, it just filters in. So that was one challenge. And like right in the middle of the hangar is really dark.
So
it's
lighting.
kind of hard. Yeah. So either had to pull the bike out or product out into the light, or bring a portable light or something.
Huh. Well, yeah. It'll be fun to figure that one out.
Yeah. I think is new. Do you know if New House is going to be?
Yeah.
There? They are.
They'll be there. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. So we've got 140 people in the chat. Do you guys have any questions about Eurobike? Is there anything that you guys saw in other people's coverage that you want us to comment on or talk about? There's some discussion about classified.
I saw some discussion on GCN's coverage. It wasn't particularly nice, but
yeah, I ran into Alex Patton.
Oh yeah.
He came over and said hi. They're actually, I know I like to poke fun at GCN, but they're good. They're nice people. Like I like Alex. I like Ollie.
Yeah.
We just have different interests in bikes.
Yeah.
I was gonna. Oh, here's a good question. Did you go by the L2 stand? What did you think? Their stand was really impressive. I feel like you see their products and you're like, is that scammy or is it not very good? But they had a really good like legitimizing presence there. All the stuff that they had was the wireless stuff. So I kind of played with the things, but they didn't really have anything for me to make content about. But it was cool. It's cool to see them.
I'm gonna try the I don't have any L. How do you say LTWoo? L2.
Yeah.
I don't have their group yet, but I have one by a company called Wheeltop, which is like kind of a similar kind of like a Chinese competitor, sort of electronic gravel-ish road group set. So I haven't tried it yet, but I've got it ready to go on one of the bikes here. So I'll be interested to see how that goes, because it's strange because you look at the websites and you're like, what is it? Like, I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at. But then you receive the product. It's actually like a fully It's like a full-fledged product, kind of feels
Did you
refined.
get
So I'm
you
excited.
get the 1x or a 2x?
I had the 2x.
Yeah.
Just because I think I'm planning to put it on the Blackheart, which is like an all-road. So I'd rather have 2x on there. And I feel like if you're gonna do like electronic group set review, it's got to be 2x.
Yeah. Did they give you like what's the capacity in blow sprocket size?
Oh boy, I don't have that memorized off the top. I know the front it'll shift. There's 16 tooth capacity in the front, so like a GRX 3046 is probably what it was designed for.
Yeah.
The rear is not quite as large, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you happen to see that brand there?
The wheel top, no. They could have been at one of the supplier booths or the one of the halls that we didn't really go into. But yeah,
I don't get the sense that they're as established as LT.
Yeah. I did stop by. There was like this string of like Japanese brands, so like MKS, Diacomp, Ostrich, Crane. It was cool to see them. And
is that where you found the chocolate grips?
No, that's an interesting story. So we were at the first day, arrived to the media networking center, and this guy came up to me, and he was like, "I made you tire levers." I was like, "What? When?" And this is going back like 7 years ago. This guy had reached out and sent over some plastic tire levers that that you can put together, and it becomes like a quick release chain braking tool. I don't know if you remember one. Yeah, so he made a short run of those, and we sold them. But yeah, he's in Japan, just designs like quirky things, and he's like pulling stuff out of his backpack. He's like, "Check these out." Yeah, so the chocolate grips are sold only in Japan, but they definitely smell like chocolate.
I mean, okay, like those Uri grips, like all the fixie people, like those always kind of reminded me of like a chocolate bar, right? So it's kind of cool that this guy took that idea. It's like a rubber grip, but it looks like a Hershey bar wrapped around the handlebar, and actually it's like a scented grip.
Yeah, he's also got like the matching tire lever. I don't remember if the tire lever smelled like chocolate, but it looked like a segmented bar.
Oh, great idea, great concept.
Yeah. Here, Tony asks, "Is there hope for mechanical bikes future?" I'm gonna make a video on this, but shortish long version is like on the mass scale, no. But like on a small production luxury item scale, yes.
You think mechanical as in non e-bikes, like acoustic pedal, or like mechanical shifting?
A little bit of both. I think mechanical shifting for sure. I think there's like, it seems as if they want to electronify everything. I mean, you're the engine nerd. It seems like far cheaper to print out like a chip and have some motors made than it is like machine little parts that interlock in a very intricate way, right? From like I don't know.
Yeah. Like the actual mechanisms, I could see it being cheaper, but there's more involved in the manufacturing because now it's not a mechanical process, it's an electromechanical process. So I mean, I don't know, they can probably get that process down pretty cheap, but I don't know, maybe I'm not a visionary, but I find it hard to believe that like entry level group sets are all going to become electronic in the future.
I don't know. We'll see. But I'm just thinking of like I mean, if you look at the insides of like a Brifter, right? So much going on as opposed to like two buttons and something that sends out like a signal to, like there's just so much complication that's removed there. That they must be able to print those parts en masse for not very much money compared to having a factory manufacturing like little gears they have to click together just perfectly.
That's true. Yeah, especially like the Shimano drifters are like, if you've ever seen an exploded view of one of those, it's like 600 little pieces.
Yeah, like I think it's like mechanical bike parts are gonna follow a similar arc to like watches, where we had mechanical watches for a long time. Then quartz got introduced during the 70s, quartz crisis. When quartz watches came out, at first they were like luxury items. I think the first quartz watch was like $3,000 or something bananas. And then as it took over and became whatever the mainstay item, then production became very cheap. And the flip side to that is all the mechanical watches became very expensive.
Yeah,
they didn't completely disappear, but
right.
they're essentially luxury items now. And to some extent, we see that same trajectory with cameras.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh man, you're so right. Yeah.
Initially the first digital cameras that had like crappy tiny sensors cost like $5,000, and now,
Oh shoot, you're right. That's the video right there. The analogies between watches and cameras.
Yeah. So I don't think mechanical bikes are going to go away, but like affordable mechanical stuff is going to be a thing of the past. It's going all you're going to be able to get are like expensive Pulse stuff at some point.
You think it'll be the same with cars, like automotive, that now that everything's going electric, just motors and a battery? And then
I think I know I've seen some videos where people are actually hoarding mechanical cars.
Yeah.
And that they're holding their value a lot longer,
right?
Because there's some people that just don't want to make the jump for whatever reason. So
yeah, you're right. I think that's probably accurate. So I'll hang on to all the mechanical GRX stuff that I have.
That's a new Bitcoin, man. Yeah, that's why that was one of the motivations for the Peak Mechanical, is just to kind of collate all those combinations where if you're a crazy mechanical shifting enthusiast, then I've got you covered.
Yeah. Nice.
Let's see. Historically, do bike trends move from Europe to the US or US to Europe? That's a good question. Having lived in one country in Europe for all of 8 months, I don't think I'm qualified to say. Although I do think the US like wags a dog a fair bit. Like bike packing, at least its modern iteration and gravel. Those were, it's not like they were invented in, I don't know. They weren't like, people rode gravel and did things like this all over, but it was definitely events like Unbound and Tour Divide that really caught the imagination of other places, and things followed. I don't know. What do you think, Nolan? Do you have any?
That's tough because I think it goes both ways, right?
That's true.
Like, I mean, just speaking just even from like Tour de France stuff, right? That's all the European racing culture definitely took over here in the States. But then, there's also stuff like gravel, which is, I mean, people will say that US, like gravel didn't start in the US. We just like branded it here, basically. So
that's what matters at the end of the day, though. Let's be honest. I do remember, like in 2006, like at around peak cycle chic. That was an import from Copenhagen, Copenhagenize. So yeah, it does go both ways.
Yeah.
This one. Any news about the new Shimano Q's group set? I briefly walked by the Shimano booth, and the big thing that they're promoting with Q's was like Q's auto shifting. So then I like turned around and was like, no. So yeah. To my knowledge, there weren't any brifters yet. But if you followed our Peak Mechanical series, got a Q's brifter for you.
Is that the Microshift? Yeah.
maybe.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
Don't want to.
It's open secret, but I just want to do a lot more rides and other testing before I make a video and say this works.
Yeah, right.
Let's see, any other interesting questions here? Yeah, for 2025, they're changing the name to Euro Ebike. Not gonna lie, it would be more accurate. Let's see. It's insane to me that mechanical would be considered a luxury option. That's just what happens, though, right? I mean, at the moment, electronic stuff is, I'd consider a luxury item when you're talking $600 rear derailleurs and that don't do anything until you spend like another $1,000. Once they open the reins and cheapen that technology, then it only makes sense that mechanical stuff is think of records, right? It used to be you could get a record player. I mean, you can still get a record player for cheap, but like a decent one wouldn't break the bank. Now, if you want something good, like an enthusiast record player, you're looking at $500. CD players, there's a trend in some people getting back into CDs, as our highest quality music format that you still owned, right? That you weren't renting, that wasn't going to be switched around from streaming service to streaming service. You used to be able to buy like a home deck for, not too much money, but now it's like to get into like a good hi-fi CD player, it's like $500 for like a Marantz or something. I don't know.
You got all the analogies all day.
Yeah. Yeah, I subscribe to all the Neo-Luddite channels.
Now it feels all but inevitable for bikes.
I think it is, sadly, as much as I protest to the opposite. So I'm going to try my best to at least create some, a small counter narrative.
Sure.
Yeah. Bruce Baum here. Renee Harris has a $700 rear derailleur. That's true.
It's true. And it's mechanical. See, there you go. So it's starting to creep up with the boutique.
It's a coming. Jay Mitra asked, anything from Microshift at Eurobike? All they had was the sword and black stuff. I did chat with them, and one of the guys there was like, yeah, a lot of people have come up here, mentioning your videos. So I was like, okay. And what's cool is like they're like completely okay with testing all these combinations, and they're like, that's who our products are for. It's aftermarket DIYers and hackers. So the fact that making this content doesn't bother them, like whereas like a Shimano would be like, you can't show that.
Well, I mean, that's Microshift's whole deal, is like keeping it mechanical, keeping it simple and compatible. Yeah.
I did try to push, I suggested that they should make a brake only version of their levers. Because they are really good. Because right now there's like the Tektro like SSLs, and that's it for like a brake only lever that has a similar shape and leverage. Right. So it'd be nice to see another option.
Yeah. Microshift, they just came out with the Black series, which sounds to me, it sounded like a premium step up from like the 10 speed stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I thought they were going to do I thought they were coming out with like an 11 speed, but it's actually a 9 speed.
Yeah.
Which kind of like further reinforces like what they're doing, like keep it simple, kind of going with like the box approach, like 9 is fine kind of deal. So.
I'm hoping they come out with like sword silver. That's the only other direction they can go, right? They just create like a nice like silver classic group set. Could be 11 speed. I mean, I think 11 is peak mechanical. For sure.
I put my name down on the PNW like wish list. It's like I don't know what it is, like a pre-order thing, because they have their like special edition PNW silver dropper post.
Nice.
That they might. I think it was such a hit at Sea Otter when they like showed that one-off like polished one.
Yeah.
They probably like were like, oh, we should probably make this and sell it. So
Yeah.
silver.
Yeah. We've still got our silver hype right posts coming. Yeah. I sent you the mechanical one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They found out later that the same factory could actually make just a regular hydraulic one as well, but failed to mention it. So they just might do that.
Oh, instead of like the spring actuated one.
Yeah. But yeah, the thing it still requested them to lower, not the collar, but like where the head sits on, so you get as much travel as you can.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, there's like an 1.5 inches sort of unusable posts.
Yeah. Let's see. Any other questions? A
lot of good comments in here.
Yeah. So there's a question: is Surly at Eurobike? Kind of. So what's interesting is a lot of the US brands don't actually show by themselves. Like they show via their distributors. So there's a distributor there called Cosmic, which represents Surly, Richie, Wolf Tooth, I think maybe even like Paul and Chris King. Anyways, so they get representation at the show, but it's usually through a distributor, and their stuff isn't public facing. Like the reps are there mostly just to deal business with bike shops and other kind of other things. Eurobike is structured so that you have a couple days of industry of trade only and media. That's where they're not interested in selling like one bike rack to 10 people at a show. They're trying to move like hundreds or thousands of units and do all that trade stuff there. So let's see. I met the QBP rep at the Cosmic booth at Eurobike, but certainly didn't have a big presence.
That's how Daniel was saying that the Taipei show was. There's like a lot of closed door kind of business dealings for like a good portion of the show was like that, just kind of that kind of dealing. So
yeah, like during the industry and trade days, the booths were pretty well manned. And then by the time the consumer days went around, I felt like they sent half the staff home. Because at that point, it's just like, people are there to like, kick the tires, so to speak, or squeeze the tires. And just, yeah. So I don't think like the consumer stuff is necessarily super important to a lot of folks at show.
Well, it's not as high. It's not as like lucrative, I guess. It's a lot of effort to explain your product to one consumer who may or may not buy it. Right?
Yeah. Let's see. And predicting auto shifting and racing. Makes sense that with all data available, a computer could shift more efficiently than a person.
I'm still waiting for like the bicycle CVT equivalent, like like continuously variable where there's no gears. It's just like there's like 2 cones on a transmission and there's like infinite number of gear ratios basically.
That exists already, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't.
No, it does. Yeah, I remember 2006, 7. There was a brand. It might have been called something CVT, and their shifter was a grip shift, and it looked like a little inchworm. And as you twisted it, it would get steeper, like it would bring the lines in. And that's when you go into the hill climbing gears. But it was exactly that. It was just heavy. It was heavy as all get out, and I don't know how great the range was, but that's a thing. Sheesh. Yeah, everything's been done.
To be honest, I don't know if I don't quite understand. I guess
There you go, New Vinci. That was the name of the brand.
okay, infinite gears. Yeah, I mean, I don't quite. I get that the tech is cool. Like it seems like the natural thing for someone to try, but I feel like it would feel really weird.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I'd be able to get used to that kind of. You basically set your cadence, and you pedal at that cadence no matter what the situation, right?
Yeah. Going back to this auto shifting thing, because that was kind of like a weird sub trend. Like who's that? Like, what do you think of auto shifting? Have you tried any auto shifting bikes? Or
I have, yeah. Like long ago, I don't know if the technology has changed much, but it used to be for bikes that auto shifted. It was just kind of like a flywheel that would spin on the the rear, connected to the free hub somehow. And as it spins faster, it gets more, expands because of centripetal acceleration. It'll cause the derailleur to shift. It never shifted when I wanted it to shift. It was always kind of weird. And so
Yeah.
I didn't personally like it at all. It felt like it's good maybe if you're just putting out like, consistent amount of power and always pedaling at the same position and cadence. You never want to speed up or slow down. But like if you get up to like sprint all of a sudden, you're going to start to spin up, and then mid sprint, all of a sudden it's going to like bump you up a bunch of gears. So
Right.
that was my experience with it. I didn't particularly like it. Have you tried it?
I haven't. I do remember that Shimano used to have again around like the 2006 like Cycle Chic era. They had a group called Coasting, and that had auto shift. I think it might have been only like 3 or 5 gears. So I don't know what's wrong with like shifting when you want to shift. I can appreciate some interesting applications. Like I could see where, let's say a time trial course, right? Someone pre-rides the route, finds their optimum, cadence or whatever, or output, and they program it in, and he just has to just pedal in like the bike. So things like that. Or you could have an actual on the road erg mode if you wanted.
Real-time erg mode.
Yeah, if you wanted like, the consistency of Zwift but outdoors. But like I honestly, like I feel like so much technology is designed to remove the rider from experiencing the bike. Like what's the point?
Yeah, right.
Like if you didn't want to ride the bike, just do something else, man.
Yeah, like auto shift would be one of those things where there's just not a problem that it's trying to solve. Like elite racers aren't going to use it, and a lot of the tech, like a lot of brand new tech, I feel like is geared towards racers, and then it eventually trickles down.
Yeah,
like electronic shifting for the top 1% or 0.01%. I guess it can make sense as you get a little bit faster shifts, maybe a little more consistent, and then that's trying to trickle down. But I feel like pro racers would never use auto shift just because it would feel so weird.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I am planning a video that reminded me of since I've been doing these peak mechanical videos, I've had to cross over into the dark side momentarily with index shifting. We do a video. I tried index shifting for 30 days. But one thing I'm realizing is it's, the index shifting, I could take it or leave it. But the big limiting factor for me with most index systems is the range. They never, by stock have the kind of range that I prefer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's less about the slipping into index gears as it is like the stock gearing.
Yeah, right. Well, and less, it's more about compatibility. Like if all index shifting was compatible with every gear range, then you'd be fine with it probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bruce here. Eventually you'll be able to take a nap while riding. That's right. You're going to have AI bikes that pedal and shift for you. You just kind of, I don't know what you do.
I mean, it's possible. They've got, lane detection for cars, and they have obstacle avoidance for robots, and they've got gyroscopic balancing in motorcycles, so it's possible.
Right. One of the interesting bits of tech I just mentioned briefly in the cargo bike video is like one of the cargo bikes used steer by wire.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Which I don't
sounds-
know. I think it's novel, but I don't know how I feel about that. Like, what I wonder what it's like. What's its safety mode?
That's one step below Blake's brake by wire.
Right.
Yeah, safety mode must be
Just
locking it straight isn't safe either. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Aaron's got a really good comeback or a response to Bruce's last comment, by the way.
Oh yeah, renting ring. Yes. There was one bike I featured in by Purple Cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know about that event, Concours de Machines?
No.
So I don't know a ton about it, but it sounds as if there's a course, and builders are invited to build a bike specifically for that course. And in doing so, they have to come up with a binder that shows their design inspiration, how they're what they're doing specific to tackle the course. And this year's what went up the gravel side of Tourmalet, and there's one part where it's like mandatory hike a bike. So all the bikes had to be designed with some kind of way to break it down so you could put it on the backpack. And so that builder made his own custom couplers, and he also made his fork so he could take the legs off below the fork crown, and it would all fit in the backpack. I thought that stuff was like really. That's why I want to go to Concours next year, because I feel like that's where you get the truly weird things.
That sounds cool. Yeah, it's like the bike equivalent of like the Lemons race. Have you heard of that one?
What's that?
I think it's called 24 Hours of Lemon. It's like a play on the Le Mans auto races.
Okay.
But you get like a $500 budget, and that's it. And you have to like build a race car that'll drive for 24 hours. And
okay, yeah.
So you get all these crazy contraptions that come out. But it's fun because there's like one set of guidelines basically, but other than that, anything goes kind of deal.
Yeah.
So I guess not quite the same, but they remind me of that.
And yeah, one of the other kind of limits on this year's, I don't know if it's like this for every Concours, but they couldn't use a phone, so everyone had to use paper maps, which I thought was kind of interesting.
That's cool. Yeah.
And they had there was an official photographer, and I think he was only shooting film. So the builder didn't get his photos yet because they were still being developed or whatever.
True. Yes. Truly rejecting technology.
Yeah. There is one thing that we I don't know if you saw the Patreon update video, but like Gary Fisher is a fan of the channel.
Oh, really? I don't think I saw that. Where was that?
We mentioned it somewhere in the Patreon update video for today, but yeah, like he came up and was like, I'm a big fan of your channel, support you guys on Patreon.
No way.
Yeah, he was like, I used to test bikes for Bicycling Magazine, and it's like, you explain bikes good.
Yeah. You explain bikes. Oh,
not exactly those words, but that was like the gist of it.
Yeah. Wow, that's ultimate compliment.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
some external validation that it's not just for nothing.
Did you see the Titanosaur bike, the 36er?
I didn't. But Gary is a big fan of 36-inch wheels.
Oh yeah.
He was like, they're coming, and there's a bike design that'll fit you. I was like,
I could see. I don't know, man. I said the same thing about 29, so we'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't like. I've seen pictures of it. Who's the really tall guy at GCN? Connor. Mm-hmm. The bike even looked big for him. So, yeah.
Let's see. They had the new Garmin out. Have you seen any videos about the new 1050?
I've seen some things about it. Honestly, I haven't used the Garmin since I switched over to Hammerhead, so I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with Garmin stuff.
Well, it's got a bell.
Oh yeah. I did see that. An electronic. It's just a beep. It's more of a horn, right?
Yeah. I think its coolest feature is the hazard reporting. So when you see a hazard, you can mark it and say it's like a dog or traffic or something. And supposedly within 30 seconds, it uploads to their servers and notifies anyone else that's going to ride by.
Oh.
And the way that they prevent kind of false positives is they'll, as people go through the hazard you mark, they can up or download it. It has to get at least like more than 50%. Right. So that's a way it kind of curates.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
Interesting. Yeah.
Cool for like high traffic areas. It'd be.
Yeah, if there's like a dog that's always loose, or I know during the spring here, there are some gravel routes where it was like literally a flooded field.
Oh. Yeah.
You know, so it'd have been nice to get a heads up about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Generative AI bike cowbell. We prefer acoustic bells on this channel. Yeah, that's why I featured that crane roadie bell as a alternative that costs like $600 less to the the Garmin 1050.
Yeah. E-bells. Yeah, I'm not sure if e-bells will take off. But.
Yeah. I have an idea for a video where I show like the cheap thing and the expensive roadie version of it. So like a bell, a Garmin 1050, a mirror, a Garmin, what's
Varia.
Varia. Here's an interesting question. Okay. TPU tubes or tubeless, or TPU tubes and U tubeless? What do you think?
I've got 1 or 2 TPU tubes. I keep them as spares. They're supposed to roll faster than like a butyl tube, but I couldn't feel. It feels maybe a little springier when you ride it, but I think it could also be in my head as well. I like my take on it is like go tubeless and carry a TPU as your spare. That's what I've been doing.
I've been curious about setting up a bike with just TPU. Because I do think, at least the way I maintain tubeless, they're going to end up lighter than a tubeless tire. You know, because I don't know about you, but like when my sealant runs dry, I just put in more sealant. So like by the end of the year, it's just like a solid wall tire.
Oh shoot, that's a good point. You could weigh in all the gummed up sealant compared to the weight of a TPU.
I mean, no joke. I think right now, like my tires are probably heavier than if I had like a TPU tube in it.
TPU, I mean, depending on the size, you can get it down to like 30 to 60 grams for the inner tube, right?
Yeah.
Jeez, I can see that much sealant in your tire. Easily.
Yeah. Yeah, sealant tree rings. Yeah, no doubt. Yes, surprised Garmin hasn't made a standalone horn. It's true. See, if the classified hub, had a built-in bike bell as well, I'd be more impressed. Jay asks, any clues on the kind of road bike you'll get build? Yes, I think we're both gonna build up a Montebello to test on our respective channels. And I've also got a Soma fog cutter that Jim sent over, and I dropped it off at the bike shop for them to install a headset. It uses like what I thought was a pretty standard headset, but clearly not in Spain because it's been like 2 weeks, and they're like, hasn't arrived yet. I was like, oh, geez.
Is it actually not a standard headset?
No, it's just it's a basic, non-tapered headset, 25/4 threadless, nothing like fancy. It's what you'd have on a on the Surly or any other Ritchie bike or Soma bike. It's just a lot of the, all the bikes here are so fancy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huh.
Okay. I assume they were there. I didn't see their booth. Did not see the Wahoo stuff. I don't know. What do you think? Is Tubeless also bike industry hype? Nolan?
No, I don't think so. I think the technology is mature enough now where like the average user can kind of see its benefit. I'm gonna like jinx myself here, but I really shouldn't say I haven't had a flat in probably 4 years. Or basically I haven't had a flat basically since I switched over most of my bikes to tubeless. And I'm sure I've had punctures because I can see where they've been sealed up, but there's definitely some advantages to tubeless. And I think now, like for a while, like the tolerances between tires and rims were like kind of questionable. Now everything's kind of converging. So setup is like really straightforward. And there's certainly a tangible improvement in my opinion.
Yeah. It took me a while to come around. I think definitely on any bikes that we take off-road, especially if it's like go-ahead territory, yeah, tubeless 100%. Kind of, it could still, I'd still run tubes on maybe like a road bike, depending on where you live. I am, like I said, I am considering just doing a TPU tube bike and seeing how well that does. I mean, Jan did the Unbound with TPU tubes.
Oh, he ran tubes? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know they're pushing TPU tubes now, so he probably had to do that for
that's why
PR reasons.
I mean, if it's good enough for Jan at Unbound,
Yeah.
What do you think of the new Presto compatible click valve core from the German
Schwalbe?
I hate pronouncing it. There's always people in the comments who are like, yeah. I saw that they were there. Didn't see them personally. I might get a pair to mess around with. My initial reaction is like, why another standard? But we'll see.
I'm not quite sure what that product is solving.
Money. It's solving.
Standard Presto has been around too long. We have to change it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Have you ever? There's another one called Dunlop. Have you ever run into?
I know the brand. I don't know is it tires or valves?
It's a valve standard.
No.
Yeah. I think I saw it described as like a Schrader with like a Presto valve kind of core.
Oh.
I don't know.
I've never had issues with standard Presto. I mean, other than the valves gumming up with sealant, but I don't know how a different valve would solve that necessarily.
Yeah, on our personal bikes, I've put in the reserve Fillmore valves.
Yeah.
And that's done a good job at reducing clogging. When they do get clogged, you can completely dismantle them and clear them out. So I'm a big fan of those, but they're like $30 or $40 each. So.
Yeah. I mean, what I did, I just bought an Amazon bag of Presto cores, and then like once it's like too gummed up, I just put a new one in.
Yeah, I think we're at that phase of the bicycle where there's truly not much more that can be improved. So we're just making simple things very, very expensive to keep the whole industry going.
Yeah, it's kind of been like that for a while, I feel. Once in a while, like a really interesting innovation comes along. So
yeah. Cool. All right. Hour 15. Thanks everyone that's stuck it out for the spicy takes at Sea Otter. I guess we'll, I don't know, 2 weeks. I mean, we're both going to be at Made, so that'll be fun. If you guys are going to be at the Made show in Portland, we're going to do meet your favorite bike YouTubers over at the Swift Industries booth. So I don't know, maybe we should try to do like a live podcast or something there.
I was going to say we should just do this, but live at Made in a few weeks.
Yeah. Cool. All right, everybody. See you guys in a couple weeks. As always, keep the supple side down.